Today we're talking about how to rebuild your body from the ground up. This is something that a lot of people really struggle with because, the fear of doing the wrong thing is very real. A lot of people have started something and it led them to a place that they were worse off, before they started on that journey. So we're going to de-myth this for you.
What's up, tribe? In case we haven't met, my name is Yanni Baumeister and I'm joined as usual with my brother and co-founder Rad Baumeister. Together with Richard behind the camera, we are Team Unity and we are the founders of the UMS, Unified Movement System, and also Unity Gym, where we teach driven people how to become superhuman. If you want to know how we do that, we always give our best stuff away for free. You can download any of the blueprints for each key component of our program, the flexibility blueprint, the strength blueprint, or the nutrition blueprint. For those of you listening on the podcast or watching the replay of the live recording on YouTube, remember to jump over to the UMS Movement Mastermind private Facebook group. There is a link in the description where you can join the live recording and interact with us, ask us questions, and become forever etched in history as part of the Sound of Movement podcast. Rad, how are you feeling today?
Pretty good, man. I'm actually wigging out as to these microphones and like how crazy they are and how we can put them exactly where we want them to be. So these ones don't need those little, elastic
shield
things.
Oh, you can have them, yeah. He's talking about a shock mount.
But is that not a problem?
Well, I don't know. Ask Phil when he's producing the podcast now that you're banging the table.
Richie, can you hear any bangs coming through?
No, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. But yes, you can add shock mounts, which we have in the shelf. For those of you on the podcast listening who can't see this, recently we've gone through a pretty big transformation in the studio here where we now have a much better setup, a more professional setup. We're using the Shure SM7B mics. We've got 4 of them on the Rode, what are they called? The boom arms, whatever they're called, the professional things. And yeah, we got a beautiful table that we're sitting around and soundproof room. We took it to a whole new level and insulated the ceiling now. So we should have zero noise coming from outside the studio now.
I guess I'm kind of just having the moment because I remember when this would have been a year and a half ago now, that we started doing these live stream things and you were showing me all this gear that you wanted to get. And I said, we're not spending a cent on anything until we know that it's an integral part of our business and it's something that we're going to do, because we've been infamous in the past for spending money on things that we never used and then we ended up selling it for 15% of what we paid for it 2 years later. And after a solid 12 months or so of realizing that, yes, this was a massive part of the future of our business, I agreed with Yanni that it was a good investment and we started accumulating this equipment, but it's all been sitting in boxes in the corner until just now, and now it's all here. And
I've been working to level. Look, and we still have a long way to go, and we may as well talk about this a little bit because it's, this is meant to be a motivational podcast, and we want to share where we've come. Hello, Grace Clements. I can see that you love as much as we do. Big shout out to Quock as well. He's joined the last couple of podcasts. I'm enjoying watching your stuff on Facebook and Instagram, brother. Keep grinding. Quock is a fellow personal trainer who's been here and who does interact with us a bit online. Great guy and an absolute weapon at calisthenics. I urge you all to follow him on Insta and Facebook. You'll see some of the cool stuff he's doing. Look, it's a really good testament to our growth and personal development. It's only a couple of years ago we decided we were going to do a podcast and we threw it together and we're doing it on the gym floor out there. We had a dodgy little desk and we're just continually striving to level up and take it to a whole new level. And we're now in I haven't done the math yet, but it'd be tipping up around the $50,000 mark for the studio. I'd say that we're sitting in. It's cost us about that much to set up, but it hasn't happened in one big hit. This is the important thing for people to understand. We started really small. We bought a couple of entry-level mics. We bought a couple of entry-level Macs and just started to throw it together. And then slowly over time, we have built up to this professional production. And, it's something that we are committed to going all in on. I was recently interviewed by a friend of mine who has a business, and he's started his own sort of podcast and YouTube channel serving SME, small business enterprise. And, you know, he said, yeah, the one thing that you repeat all the time that has really stuck with me is that you go all in on things. Once you decide that you're going to do something and commit to it, you go all in on it, which often means investing every moment, spare moment of time you've got, and every spare moment of money, every spare dollar that you get, you know, to make it happen and to pull it off, and you commit to the process until you see it through. And that very much comes in alignment with our style of training and everything that we do, you know.
Yeah, we've definitely come a long way. 7 years ago, we were just personal trainers that opened a gym and did it very poorly and mismanaged it all.
We bootstrapped the whole thing off the smell of an oily rag, you know, and we had
a lot of debt, a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of tax issues, you know, from bad accounting and everything, which we actually just paid off for the first time. For the first time ever, Unity Gym doesn't have a tax debt, which is huge. So for those of you that are following us and supporting us, it's a really big deal because we've got massive goals, and we're actually in the process of expanding our team. I'm trying to filter through a monumental amount of applications for a full-time videographer. We're going to be having a videographer work for us here to do a weekly vlog for us. So that's going to be something that's going to be happening very, very soon. I'm certain that we'll have that team member by the end of this month or by next month, early next month. And that's going to be really, really cool because we're really big on telling our story. We want to show people what it is that we do, and we want to lift the curtains on, you know, being behind the scenes. It's funny, people come in we've had over the years now, especially since the UMS online program went live, we had people come in here from around the world and around the country to train with us who are part of our online tribe, and they spend 5 or 10 minutes with us, and then they a couple of times people have laughed and said, oh, this is really funny, you guys are exactly the same as you are on the show. And we do our best to be authentic, and so this is that's like the next step, doing this this weekly vlog, not live vlog. So I think it's going to be really, really cool. But yeah, anyway, I was just having a little moment looking at all this stuff and seeing how this mic sits perfectly in front of my mouth instead of having to try and figure out where it is I'm going to speak to. But yeah.
Aidan Potts has just asked, when did the UMS online tribe first start?
So that was
November 2018.
No, let's think. It was in 2018, we were looking at the fragility of our business. It was Yanni that saw this. Yanni said, man, we have all our eggs in one basket. If this, you know, we're putting so much effort into this gym, and if something happened to this gym, like if the place burned down, or if
the coronavirus
struck, or whatever it was, you know, we would be truly fucked because we would have nothing to fall back on, you know. And we don't come from a wealthy family at all. There's no one that's got our back. And now we've got families, you know, we've got kids. So we need to be we need to have something that's secure, and, you know, going online is like the holy grail for fitness professionals. And so I just made a decision because Yanni and I have very different roles in the business, and Yanni at that time was so much busier than I was. He manages all the finances, and he's the managing director of the company and the CFO of the company. So it was always for Yanni. It was like, oh my God, it was such a headache. And I just said, stuff this, I'm going to do it. And I spoke to Yanni. We talked about the direction that we were going to go in, and it was really funny. You know, you guys might not know this, but I actually had a conversation with Yanni. I said, should we make online programs about like fat loss and about getting fit, or should we do something about flexibility? And Yanni went, oh, I don't know. And I said, man, I feel like, you know, the fat loss and getting fit is like really overdone, and I think flexibility is something that people are going to want to know more about. And it was almost like tossing a coin, and we went, all right, well, yeah, let's try that. And so we made the 18-minute stretching routine, and that was back in 2018. I can't remember exactly when it went live, but it was late 2018. And I remember...
I know that it was mid-November because that's when the first ever payment came through Stripe.
Really? Okay, well, there you go, mid-November. So, but more
16th of
more
November.
specifically about your question, Aidan, when did the UMS Online Tribe first start? So, people, the very first adopters, the only people that started with us, and please, if anyone else is watching this, that you're in this basket, please let me know because I want to give you some props. But the only people that I know for sure that were the very first people that bought our programs that are still with us now is Tom Wood and Blakely Harnage, and they're two of our moderators. Those guys were some of the first adopters, and we didn't know who they were or who anybody was. We were just we sold these programs and people were commenting on them, saying how much they were changing their lives. And then in January, we started the online group, which is now the Movement Mastermind. It's called the UMS Movement Mastermind. I can't remember what we called it back then. But that was just a place where people could come in, and we had like 2 or 3 members back then, of course. And shortly after that, I said to Yanni, we need to create, these people are enjoying these flexibility programs. All we had back then was the 18-minute stretching routine and the mobility masterclass. That was it. And I said, people are really enjoying this. We should look at creating an online version of our UMS program. And oh my God, was that a beast of a thing. The thought, the idea of trying to create that program back then, I can't believe how far we've come, because that was so overwhelming for me, because I really had to do it without much help from Yanni. Yeah, we created it, and it was launched. I think it was officially launched, the UMS online coaching and Tom and Blakely might be able to help me here. I think it was March 2019. And that was like the soft launch, where we gave it for free to all of the people that had already got the 18-minute stretching routine. And then in June 2019 was like the hard launch, where we started advertising it and people started signing up.
And I'll be honest, Aidan, it's about to launch again. Because what we're rebuilding right now with the help of Rob and his team over in the States is phenomenal. We've had a little look at what they're working on at the moment, and we're pretty much relaunching the entire online program. Nothing will be affected for those of you who are already in there, unless you choose to.
It will. I'll go a bit clearer. I'm going to elaborate on this before you get into what you want to say. Up until this point, you've had me, a personal trainer, who has zero formal training on IT or development or anything like that. All I've done is chosen to figure out how to do it myself by watching video tutorials. And I filmed all of the programs with Richard and Yanni. Yanni and I write the programs, and Richard and I go and film it all. And Kalisha was the videographer for a lot of it. And then we have it edited, and then it gets uploaded to this site called Thinkific, which after a lot of research, we decided that was going to be the best site for us to use. And that is it. That's as far as it went. And now for the first time ever, because the biggest thing that we get told by the people that really love our programs, we get told it's the best thing they've ever done. But for every person that says that, there's at least 3 or 4 that say, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, because we haven't laid it out properly. So for the first time ever, what we've done is we've now invested heavily on getting a professional Thinkific site builder to build the site basically from a UX perspective, a user experience perspective. So what Yanni means is nothing's going to change. The program's not changing, but the user experience is going to be like nothing you've seen before. Yeah. And it looks unbelievable. It's
so that's the first step to the level up, to the rebuild, to the official launch, and then from there we are starting work on developing an app. And the minimum viable product for the app is going to be to track progress. So it's going to be the assessment protocol. It's going to be initially more targeted at the more senior people who are doing the testing weeks and doing all of that, and it's going to be an all-in-one thing on your smartphone. For those watching on the UMS Movement Mastermind, you can see me holding up my phone. It's going to be basically, and I spend hours every weekend starting to brain dump this and create what I want as a map of how it's going to be released. It's going to be an all-in-one that you guys watch the tutorials for the testing week. You punch in your information, your results. and then it spits out the program that you need to follow, and it also tracks. So as you work through that program, you track your sets, reps, and intensity level, out of a score of 1 to 10, and it graphs that. It gives you a really beautiful graph that shows whether you're progressing in a nice linear fashion, which the way you should be, or whether there's something not happening that you need to address. And if that is the case, then it's going to spit out suggestions based on our criterion of what you may be struggling with or not doing correctly. So it's just going to help the more senior people take it to a really new level initially. That's going to be minimum viable product that I'm hoping to launch next year by June. And then after that, we're going to start slowly releasing updates that will eventually have the entire UMS and all of our programs on the smartphone app. But that's really exciting for me. What you guys may or may not, if you jumped on the stream early, were watching, I was just drafting up an email sent to my good friend and developer, business partner on my previous app, which was called LinkFit, which is something that we built over the last 8 years and sort of stopped developing about 2 years ago. And we're winding that up so that I can focus 100% on the new UMS app. So it's a big deal. It's not my first rodeo in building an online software company, but it will be the swan song. It's going to be amazing.
And we're also getting ready. We're going to be sometime this year hiring a gym manager and a personal trainer, so that Yanni and Richard and I don't have to actually deliver the classes anymore, which is the next real step of evolution for our business, so that we can work on the higher level tasks. And that will eventually lead into expansion to more Unity gyms, which will potentially eventually open up Unity gyms around the world if there's enough of a demand for it. And we now know, because we've got such a great, international community, that there is a demand for us to do workshops. So eventually, Yanni and Richard and I, with our families, will start traveling the world and coming to see you all where you are, and doing UMS workshops, and helping you guys, especially for those of you that are higher up in our programming. Understand how to go to the next level. So it's pretty cool stuff. Totally off topic for what we said we were going to talk about, but nonetheless, if you're interested in that, Aidan, as you seem to be, hopefully you've got a little bit of an understanding there of how this whole thing came about. So, Yanni, can I jump into this question now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Letitia Cooney has said, and if you've got any more questions, anyone, please put them in the comments. We'll answer them. I'm just going to quickly answer. Aidan has said, Rad, I've also been messing around with the horse stance, brutal exercise, but after I do it, my hips feel amazing. Definitely going to keep doing those. And Lee Clement says, yep, horse is harder than it looks, 5 minutes. Phew. I'm going to say, wait until you learn how to do it properly, because I have never once seen anyone in my decades of doing martial arts say to me, hey, check my horse stance, what do you think? And they've been doing it even close to properly. And when I give them a couple of cues, what they thought was hard becomes absolutely brutal. So let's see how you enjoy it when you get
you heard it
tutorials.
First here.
So Letitia Cuny, this is what inspired this show, has said, hi, I've been wanting to purchase your shoulder rehab for a while and I've finally done it. I'm in so much pain, but the video said to do this with a physical therapist, but unfortunately during these times I do not have access to one. What is my next step? I know my diagnosis, DDD, I'm not exactly sure what that means, of my cervical has developed into pain and my arms has pain down my arms and weakness. I'm not sure where to go from here. Please advise. So the first thing I'm going to say, Letitia, is when I said in those tutorial videos for the shoulder rehab, make sure you do this with the guidance of a physical therapist. I'm not saying you can't do this without a physical therapist. I'm saying don't take my advice on a video tutorial as medical advice for you. I'm saying you should see a physical therapist if you need to be doing a shoulder rehab program and try and get a diagnosis. That should be a part of it. But that said, in our experience, the rehab programs that physical therapists give people are not very good. And
a lot of physiotherapists have bought that program to be able to give to people.
Yeah. And look, there's there's going to be different levels of physical therapists out there, just like there's different qualities of doctors and trainers. But in our experience, Yanni and I have been personal trainers for over 16 years professionally now. We know more about exercise prescription than most of the physiotherapists that we've met. It is a different thing. Like exercise terminology, program design is different to injury diagnosis and
it's
injury
important
treatment.
to understand that most physiotherapists only do 2 weeks of it when they're studying.
That's
they
right.
brush over it really quickly.
That's right.
You can't compare that level of education to 16 years of experience plus the knowledge that we accumulate during our study during that period, because we're specifically studying exercise prescription.
That's right, and program design.
And
That's right.
design.
I wouldn't
That's
even.
right.
I wouldn't even dare to throw my hat in the ring next to a physiotherapist on injury diagnosis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go near it, which is why I always say, people say to me, "Oh, I've got this pain in my shoulder. What do I think?" My answer is always, ask Phil.
Yep.
Phil's a physiotherapist. I don't know. But that said as well, we also designed those programs with Phil working very close with us. So we had a physiotherapist looking at it and saying, yes, that's a really good program. And also with another good friend of ours who's a physiotherapist, Leroy Lobo, who helped me design it because he was the one that was treating me and coaching me through my slap tear. So when I say that, Letitia, I'm not saying if you can't see a physiotherapist or a physical therapist that you can't do this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it is recommended that you go and see a physiotherapist and get diagnosed.
It's always recommended, guys, that you get a proper diagnosis by a professional. Don't use Dr. Google to diagnose. Nowadays, you've got great physiotherapists like Phil from Switched On Physio who do online consultation. Unfortunately, Phil is not licensed to give online consults to people in the US. The US have different laws and regulations, which is really weird, and his insurance doesn't cover him for consulting with people in the USA. Unfortunately, that's the case, but he can still absolutely point you in the right direction and give you general information and general guidance, you know. And for those of you in Australia and Europe, he can absolutely do online consultations with and give you proper diagnosis.
Yep.
And other than that, just align yourself. If you're exercising, part of going all in, which we spoke about before, part of committing, part of becoming the person you want to be, if that's to lose 20 pounds, to gain 20 pounds, to overcome an injury, to level up performance and achieve a performance-related goal or an athletic goal or a sports goal, part of the process of going all in and becoming that person is also building an inner circle around you of influence, which will include someone who you can go to when you become injured. It's a natural part of the process of learning your limitations and learning what your body can handle. And you need, like Rad and I have worked extremely hard to build and cultivate an inner circle of people who know more than us about chiropractic, physiotherapy, even nutrition and dietetics, you know, functional medicine. I have a friend who's a cardiologist who I consult with via email if I have questions about the heart and about cardiovascular health, because I don't know everything. And these people know way more than me, you know. And that's really important. It's really important that you build, I mean, we will probably likely be part of that inner circle for you guys, you know. But you got to continue building that network. And that's really important, because I tell you, the person who is walking around 20 pounds lighter than you or 20 pounds heavier than you or at the performance...
successfully rehabilitated the injury that you're trying to rehab.
Or performance that you're trying to achieve. They have a team working with them. They don't do it alone. No one does.
Well, I think something really sort of went off for me there with what you were saying, which is... and it aligns with the title of this show, you know, how do you get started with rebuilding your body? Well, the first thing you've got to do is you just start. And you don't need to know, you know, it's that saying, when you're, I don't even remember the saying, but the analogy is, you know, when you're driving from the East Coast to the West Coast of America, you don't need to know exactly which turn you're going to take on every single point of the way. And if you're driving at nighttime, all you can see in front of you is where the headlights are going, but you have an idea in your mind that you want to go from east to west, so you know that you've got to go somewhere in this direction, and you just focus on what's in front of you. And when you come to the turns, you figure out at that point, okay, do I need to turn left or do I need to turn right? So You might be starting and you're thinking, oh my God, where do I get started? Like, I can't see a physical therapist. I can't do this. I can't do that. Start by dedicating half an hour or an hour and a half, whatever it is that you can fit in your life a day to getting better. And if that starts by not knowing what it is to do, then you spend that half an hour or an hour researching what it is that you need to do.
Yeah.
Like when there was a time several years ago where we decided that we were going to be doing a podcast, and we acknowledged that that was a direction that people's attention were going in, and we were going to be early adopters, and we had no idea how to do it. No idea. We didn't know what to do. All we said was one day, okay, well, we're going to do a podcast. And I said to Yanni, well, how are we going to do that? And Yanni said, I don't know. We're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. And here we are, however many years later, in a professional studio that no one has helped us with. I'll give some credit to Niall there.
Yep.
Niall Fernandez, our member, who is definitely helping us now. But we had no one that came in and said, well, this is what you got to do. We figured it out ourselves.
Yep.
So, Letitia, going back to your question, I get that you've watched my video where I've said see a physical therapist. Don't let that stop you from starting, because in the shoulder rehab program, it's designed very, very carefully to be very, very safe. And in phase 1, you intentionally never actually take the arm above shoulder height, because that's where the real risk of injury is. That's why phase 1, all of the movement. Phase 1, you take your arm to here, and in phase 4, you take your arm up to here, because that is the most vulnerable position of the shoulder, and that is quite a low risk position for the shoulder. So you should be okay doing phase 1 on your own. And it's all about just doing what you can do daily, figuring it out. You'll try something and go, oh, that really hurts. Don't do that exercise, and post it. Say, hey, I tried to do this exercise. Post a video of yourself doing it, and we'll help you out with it.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah. And that's really, getting back to the name of this show, the title of this show, that's one of the things that you really want to take away from this episode, is that if you don't know where to go, if you don't know what to do, then, one of the things that I don't know if any of you that are listening to this or watching this live on the UMS Movement Mastermind on Facebook or on YouTube, I don't know if any of you realize how lucky you are that you've even found us. And I know that might sound like an arrogant thing to say, but I can tell you right now that a few years ago, when I was trying to become the person that I am now, because you and I weren't as knowledgeable as we are now about training 10 years ago, or about business, or about mindset and motivation. And when we had to look for the people who we were going to follow, that's one of the hardest things to find. One of the hardest things to find is to find somebody that's not a charlatan.
Yep.
Or to find somebody that really knows how to put their knowledge into digestible content that you can actually assimilate into your life. And I'm not saying that your journey's over. It's not like we're the be-all and end-all. But the fact that you're listening to us, you're listening to people that have put the work in to give you realistic, strategies that are going to produce tangible results. So if you're sitting there thinking, how do I get started? Well, the first thing to do, if you don't know what to do, is spend half an hour or an hour a day watching our content. Yeah. Go through our YouTube channel and watch the stuff that we've already put out there that answers your problems. And then when you're ready to say, hey, I think this is how I should start, post the question and we'll answer it for you.
Yeah.
Or someone that knows more than you will answer it for you in this group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it looks like that's a mic drop moment, because Yanni's got nothing to say. He's sitting there just nodding his head.
I have to apologise. I've got a lot going through my mind today, guys. Got a lot of moving parts going on at the moment with everything that's going on, and my mind's off a little bit with in the clouds.
Someone's given us a cry emoji on today's post. Have I said something that's made somebody cry?
Oh yeah, it just came through. It's Lee.
Is it? Is Lee crying?
Lee Clemens.
Oh,
why are you crying, Lee?
Oh, maybe from the horse stance. Oh. The horse stance comment.
I don't know. So, yeah, look, guys, I just want you to really understand that to rebuild your body, you have to go all in. Or to build the body that you desire, you have to go all in.
Anything.
To go from a driven person with a goal to superhuman, which is what we specialise in doing here. We take driven people and turn them into superhumans. You got to go all in. You got to go all in, and you got to make that commitment. You got to become the person that you want to be now. It's all about slipping into that mindset, stepping into that avatar, however you want to frame it. because the person that you want to be doesn't behave the way you behave right now.
Yeah,
there has to be some changes that occur.
That's right.
And that requires often doing things that you have not done before, or that you're not comfortable doing right now. And that's what it's all about.
Well, a big part of it as well is about it's what are you willing to give up? It's not what you're willing to do, because a lot of people are willing to do a lot, but the problem is time. The most valuable asset we've got is time, and you have to, for most people, they're like, oh my God, I can't fit anything else in. Well, yeah, you probably can't with the way that you're living your life right now. So the question isn't what are you willing to do? The question is what are you willing to give up in order to make the time to do the thing that you want to do?
Yeah, and that goes for every facet of life. I'll give you an example of that. We're about to employ a bunch of new team members, and that's to free up time so that we can put more effort into these podcasts, into connecting with our online tribe, into coming up with new solutions for people in our tribe here at the gym who have issues that they need to overcome, spending more time coaching on a higher level. And in order to do that, we've got to hire a manager to take over. We've got to hire new trainers, and that means that at the end of the year, we either take a pay cut or we don't take a pay rise. When there's only so much cash that can go around, so we make a sacrifice. What are we willing to give up? We're willing to give up paying ourselves a bit more, so that we can grow as an organisation. We're willing to give up being able to do the training ourselves, which we're all control freaks, Rad, Richard and I. We don't really trust anyone else to do it as well as we do, but we have to give that up because we need to grow as an organisation. What are you willing to give up to achieve what you want to achieve? It always requires some form of sacrifice, and those sacrifices are not always easy to make, but they have to be made.
Yep.
They're part of your growth.
Yep.
And they're essential to getting you to where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in today. As always, if you have any questions, please post them. If you're listening to the podcast, you can send us a question, a voice recorded question, and we will Phil will hear it and forward it to us so that we can answer it on the show. And even better yet, like, the podcast is a great way for you to digest this content whilst you're on the move. Of course, that's why you're listening to it. But better yet, go and join the UMS Movement Mastermind group on Facebook, where you can ask us questions, post videos of yourself training for critique, and just become a part of our inner circle. And if you're watching on YouTube, consider subscribing to the channel, and where we post content like this daily, and also come and join that Facebook group.
Yeah, guys. We want to see you. We want to get you in there. We want to be able to interact at a higher level. Love you all.
And welcome to all of our UMS Movement Mastermind members. This group is growing at a phenomenal rate. We're above 1,700 members now by my last check, which is just amazing. I think we only ticked over 1,000 members at the start of this year, so that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we'll see you all tomorrow for Wednesday's straight arm scapular strength workout at 7 a.m. and then at 8:30 a.m. Sydney time for another one of these daily mindset and motivation chats. See you later.
Awesome, guys. Take care.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.